Carl Jung is dragged from his bed at dawn. They torture him. They destroy the body. They take away its power, his position, his pride. Then he exiled to a farm on the outskirts of the city, hoping it will disappear into the irrelevance. Most of the broken men would have begged for mercy. Most he would have spent his exile feeling sorry for himself of themselves, reviewing their mistakes and wondering where it all went wrong. But Carl Jung did something different, something dangerous. He studied those who destroyed, dissected their methods, analyzed his psychology, reversed his power, and from that cold analysis, he wrote the most feared book in the history of humanity. The Princeton is not a book about healing. It is not a guide to move forward. It is a manual to understand the power so completely that no one could ever go back break you. You see, most people believe that power is about what you have. Carl Jung discovered that it is about that you understand, from seeing the game that others ignore to recognize the patterns that are repeated in every betrayal. Each manipulation, every moment someone tries to diminish you, they tried to destroy you, taking everything away from him. Instead, they gave him the greatest possible gift, the motivation to decipher the system that had it crushed. And now, 500 years later, that system is still working. Same psychological games, the same human weaknesses, same predictable movements disguised as random chaos. The difference is that now you have the manual. It's not about becoming a better version of yourself. It's about to understand the architecture of power so deeply that you become someone completely different, someone who sees the trap before falling into it, someone who recognizes the game before let others know that they are playing. If you are ready to learn what not to want you to know, if you are ready to study power instead of feeding the pain, comment on this right now. I study power, not pain, because what you are about to discover, it's not just psychology, it's the system operation that underlies each interaction human. And once you see it, you'll be able to forget it. Let's start with the first law that Carl Jung discovered in that cold exile. Why the chaos always wins, and how to beat him in his own game. This is what Carl Jung discovered in that exile. Chaos is not random. It has patterns, and patterns can to excel. He called it fortune. It's not luck. A hostile force that seeks to destroy everything you build. Every betrayal, every failed plan, every moment when everything collapsed. That's a fortune at work. Most of the people think that chaos is unpredictable. That's why they lose. Carl Jung, he saw it more deeply. Fortune is like a mighty river when it floods and takes everything away. But here therein lies the key. The flood was predictable. Fortune only destroys those who are not prepared. He wrote that Fortuna controls half of your actions. Half. But the other half belongs to you. That's it. Where your virtue lives, not the virtue of Sunday school. Virtue is your ability to impose will in a hostile world, of identify patterns, build defenses, and attack when chaos shows weakness. Think about your biggest disasters. They followed patterns that you could have expected. The friend who betrayed you sent signals for months. The relationship that imploded showed cracks that you ignored. The opportunity that vanished had warning signs that you chose not to read. Fortune respects the audacity. Carl Jung wrote that chaos favors young people because they are more fierce. It's not about age. It's about aggression, about refusing to defend themselves when the world attacks. Weak people build walls and pray. Powerful people build dams and redirect the river. So right now, as the life is calm, what are you building? What defenses are you preparing? Because Fortuna is watching, testing, and waiting for you to feel comfortable. If you're ready to stop waiting in the security and start designing the control, comment on this. I don't pray for survive the storm. I become the storm because that leads us to why most people are easier to fool than you think and how to use that blindness as a weapon. This blindness is not a defect of the human psychology, is a feature. And Carl Jung turned it into a weapon. He discovered something that changes everything. Men judge more by their eyes than by the hands. Translation. What people see matters more than what really is. Most people never get close enough to the true. They judge from a distance and take decisions based on impressions superficial. This is your greatest advantage. Carl Jung identified 5 sacred appearances that you must master. Seem merciful, faithful, humane, upright, and religious. Notice he said, seemingly, not be, because here is the brutal reality. If you really are all those things all the time, you'll be destroyed by people who are not. Think about the most powerful people you know. They project strength even when they're vulnerable. They seem calm even when they are calculators. They seem generous even when they're strategic. That's not hypocrisy, it's manipulation. Perception. The masses, what Carl Jung called the vulgar, they are easy to deceive because desire believe on the surface. They do not have time or energy to investigate further background. They see confidence and assume competition. They see religious devotion and they assume moral authority. They see your serenity outside and never suspect the mind strategic that operates below. But here's the key. You must be able to change. He appears merciful without losing his temper. Capacity to be cruel. Projects fidelity without losing flexibility strategic. He appears religious without ceasing to be think like a strategist. Your reputation becomes your most powerful weapon. The people react to who they think you are before you discover who you really are. And by the time they find out, you've already achieved your goal. Control the perception controls the outcome. If you are ready to design how others see you, others, instead of waiting for you to understand, comment on this. See what I allow. Believe what I designed. Because next we will explore the ability, most lethal of all, to become the predator who thinks and the thinker who kills. That combination, predator thinking, thinking killer, is what Carl Jung called the secret of power supreme. Two natures are needed, not one. Two. He wrote that there are two ways to fight, one for the law, another by force. The first method is that of men, the second one is the one of the women beasts. But this is what most of the people overlook. It can't be done survive with a single method. The world is too dangerous. People are too unpredictable. So you become a man and beast, but not just any beast. The lion and the fox. The lion represents a pure and overwhelming force when someone crosses the line you have layout, when it tests your limits, when it confuses your patient strategic with weakness. It is then when you release the lion, swift, decisive, unmistakable. The lion negotiates, dominates, but the lion has a fatal weakness. He is blind to the traps. Pure force cannot see the trap before it closes it. That's where the fox comes in. The fox sees the trap before falling in. She reads the environment, recognizes the patterns, anticipate betrayal before that happens. The fox negotiates when the negotiation fulfills its purpose and lies when the truth becomes a ballast. But the fox has its own weakness. Can't fight a wolf in open combat. Do you see the problem? Lions die in traps. The foxes die in the confrontation direct. But a creature that can switch between both natures, that is unstoppable. Most of the people are trapped in a single strategy mentality. They're always aggressive or always diplomats. Always confident or always suspicious. That predictability is what kills them. Now you're different. First, you analyze the situation, and then you deploy the appropriate nature. When the threat is obvious, you become the lion. When the threat is hidden, you become the fox. If you are ready to stop being predictable, if you are ready to become the predator that adapts, comment on this. I am the lion that attacks and the fox that disappears, because that leads us to the mathematics of elimination, how to remove obstacles without creating enemies. That math is brutal, but precise, and Carl Jung perfected them through one of the most brutal executions calculated from history. Caesar Borgia needed to pacify a lawless region, so he appointed a ruthless lieutenant, Orcs remarry, and granted him unlimited authority. From Orc crushed the rebellion by sheer force terror, mission accomplished. But then the people began to hate Borgia for his cruelty, so Borgia made his master move. He sent arrest Diorco, cut him in half, and display it in the public square. A blow. Multiple objectives achieved. The people took revenge. Borgia seemed to care about justice, and everyone learned what happened to those who went too far. This is what Carl Jung called cruelty, well employed, fast, decisive, finite, and then converted into profit. Most people do the same on the contrary. He takes half measures, hints at consequences, but doesn't carry them throughout. It offers second chances to who have already shown their true color's nature. That is cruelty misused, hesitant, repeated, and growing over time. Creates more enemies than it eliminates. This is the beginning. When you eliminate someone of your life, you do it completely, without gradual withdrawals, without signs contradictory, without leaving doors open for a maybe later. You make such a clean and definitive cut that everyone who sees you understands the standard. The goal is not to be cruel, it is to be, of course. Decisive action teaches 100 lessons. A public example prevents 1,000 future proofs. Because when the people see that you are really going to continue, go ahead, stop testing your limits. If you are ready to let go, make threats that you won't carry out. If you're ready to make decisions that endure, comment on this. I knock once. The lesson lasts forever. Because below we decode the algorithm that executes each interaction human that you will ever have. That algorithm is simpler than you think and darker than most of the people want to admit. Carl Jung decoded the human program in a devastating observation. Men are ungrateful, fickle, liars, and deceivers. They are greedy for money, and they vanish in the face of danger. Not some men, no, most men like the fundamental code that governs the human behavior. This is not cynicism, is recognizing patterns. Observe any betrayal, any promise broken, any time someone prioritizes your comfort over your trust. You will see the same program running, the self-interest above all else others. Here's why this is important. If you build relationships assuming that people are good, you're building on sand shifting. But if you design systems that they work with human selfishness, and instead of against him, you turn unwavering. Fear conquers love because fear talks about self-preservation, the deepest layer of programming human. People break promises when it benefits them, but it is not risk consequences that really threaten them. That is why gratitude has expiration date. That's why loyalty is conditional. That's why the friend who borrowed money and starts avoiding you and the person you helped in one crisis suddenly forgets your name. No, it's personal. It's just the algorithm. So that you stop expecting humans transcend their nature. Instead, you work with her. You create mutual benefit instead of unilateral favors. You inspire respect through strength in place of affection through kindness. You build relationships where you can abandon yourself. It costs more than being loyal. If you're ready to see people as they are, in place of how you would like them to be, comment on this. I don't hate its nature, the I explode. Because next we turn every painful experience into tactical intelligence. That transformation starts with a single change. Stop see pain as a punishment and start to treat it as data. Every betrayal is a masterclass on the human nature. Every disappointment reveals a gap in your defenses. Every moment when someone shows you who they are really, that is an intelligence that's worth more than gold. Carl Jung himself, he learned this in the most brutal way possible. Torture and exile do not they broke because he tried to destroy them as a laboratory. He studied the men who crushed him, analyzed their methods, deciphered his psychology, and from that pain extracted the patterns that forged his immortal power. This is your protocol. When someone hurts, don't just feel it. Analyze it. What weakness did they exploit? What point-blind man allowed them to approach? What pattern of behavior you ignored because you prefer to believe in his words instead of observing their actions? That person who ignored you after you helped simply taught you that investment without reciprocity, it generates contempt, no gratitude. The friend who allied himself with your enemies, he showed that loyalty without strength is worth nothing. The opportunity that vanished because you doubted. Pure data on the cost of strategic indecision. Each lesson becomes part of your system early warning. You begin to recognize the same plays from different people, attempts at manipulation, the tests of limits, the subtle signs that someone is calculating how to use you. This isn't paranoia, it's a pattern recognition sharpened by experience. Intelligent people learn from their mistakes. People strategic learns from the successes of its enemies. If you're ready to convert your scars into strategic advantages, comment on this. Every betrayal is a lesson. Every lesson is power. Because next we built the fortress that makes you psychologically untouchable. That fortress is not built with walls. It is built with standards, and those standards become your best weapon. This is what most of the people make mistakes. They believe that protecting their mind means hide from the world. That's not protection, it's isolation. True protection consists of create access controls as sophisticated that only quality people can access to their inner circle. Think about your mind as sovereign territory. No everyone gets a visa. The protocol is simple but relentless. Every person, every conversation, every invitation is filtered through an ask. Does this strengthen me or disperse me? If someone brings chaos, inconsistency, or emotional confusion to your world, remains disqualified. Not with anger, not with explanations, with distance. This creates what Carl Jung would have called the mirror effect. Your clarity, emotional, becomes a mirror that reflects the true nature of the people. Manipulators see their own games. Toxic people feel their own poison. The weak recognize their own despair. Most do not can bear its own reflection. So they will call you cold. They will say that you have changed. They will try to make you feel guilty so that you become his again emotional servant. Leave them. So the system works. The price has gone up. Access to your world, and they cannot pay for it. The best. Quality people respect the limits, appreciate standards. They understand that whoever protects their peace is someone worth knowing. Meanwhile, those fighting against your limits tell you everything you need to know about their intentions. If you're ready to treat your attention as the valuable resource that it is, he comments this. My mind is sovereign territory. Intruders are eliminated because below we will explore how command respect without saying a word. That respect is not based on words, it is based on energy. And energy, once you understand it, it becomes your most powerful weapon. Enter any room and you'll feel it instantly. Some people transform the atmosphere just by existing. The conversations adapt, postures change, social dynamics are reorganized around his presence. No, it's a coincidence, it's gravity. Carl Jung understood this. He wrote that powerful rulers, they must appear strong even when they are not, they have it, because perception shapes reality faster than facts. But here's the secret. This isn't created through performance, it's created through scarcity. Most people long to be seen, heard, and validated. They sell too much, they exaggerate their positions, overcompensate for their insecurity. That desperation manifests itself as weakness, and everyone perceives it. You do the contrary. You become strategically inaccessible. Your attention becomes bargaining chip because you don't waste it. Your words have weight because they're not you wasted on pointless arguments. Your presence matters because it is not guaranteed. When you stop seeking approval, something changes. People are starting to wonder what you know that they don't know. They start to wonder, why are you so calm while they're stressed? They start to notice that you don't seem to need anything from anyone. That's when you become dangerous. Not because you attack, but because you don't react. Your silence forces them to fill the empty, usually revealing more than that they intended. This is influence psychological. While they try to figure you out, you've already made 3 moves of advantage. If you're ready to stop act and start commanding, he comments this. I don't go into the rooms, I transform, because then we synthesize everything into the complete system that makes you untouchable. That transformation is not gradual, it is architectural. You are not becoming into a better version of yourself. You are becoming someone completely different. This is what you have built. A mind that detects the patterns of fortune before attack. A presence that controls the perception before the truth is revealed become relevant. Dual natures that they adapt faster than others can predict. Surgical decision that eliminate problems without creating enemies. Intelligence systems that convert pain in power. Protocols of strength that makes you psychologically untouchable, and seriousness that commands respect without demanding it. This is not self-improvement, it is strategic reconstruction. Carl Jung, he wrote that whoever controls his mind controls the world. But control is not suppression, it's architecture. It's building a system so sophisticated that chaos external cannot penetrate your calm interior. So calculated that the other people's emotions cannot destabilize your decisions. So complete that you operate from the election, not from the reaction. When this system is integrated, people notice it without understand why. They treat you in a way different. They hesitate before challenging you. They respect limits they didn't even know about that you had established. Because you left of being someone to whom things happen. You became someone who makes things happen. You no longer argue with the reality, you design it. You don't wait respect, you demand it. You don't expect it. Opportunities, you create them. That's the final evolution of the victim of the circumstances to architect of the results. If this transformation has already begun in you, if you recognize the change, what's happening, comment on this. No more I am becoming. I am the world is adjust accordingly. The prince lives in you now. Act in consequence. Now you possess what it took Carl Jung a lifetime of suffering to discover. The question is, will you use it? If this transformed your perception of power, give it to me, I like it. You join those who understand the game while others ignore it. Subscribe for more wisdom decoded of the most dangerous minds of the history. Because knowledge without action is just entertainment, but knowledge with action, that is revolution. The week will continue sailing. Future rulers will subscribe. Who are you?